This video is sponsored by SKILLSHARE. If you want to try out their affordable video service, use my link in the description. First 500 who uses it gets 2 months for free. Let me start off with the obvious. I've been making music production and synthesizer videos since 2015, but it's not been easy. I spent a ton of time developing my style, learning to feel comfortable in front of the camera, developing my storytelling, the way I present music, ideas, and teach in a video format. When I started, I didn't know anything about video production, I didn't know anything about video gear, and I definitely didn't know a lot about storytelling and how to convey your ideas through the medium of video. So after making videos seriously for a couple of years, and now I actually have it as a part-time job, I thought it'd be fun to talk about how to make synth and music production videos. The world of synths and music productions is very gear focused. So it's important to start off with one thing. Gear doesn't really matter.
Gear doesn't matter.
Now, this is obviously true because what really matters is the story that you want to tell your audience. And it's not about the gear you use to tell it.
I have an idea.
What's that?
Why don't we make a film about making a film?
Bro.
However, I do know that a lot of you have questions about what gear to use, what gear to start with when you want to shoot your videos. So I will have a segment later in the video talking about what gear I use, how I rig everything, and how I basically shoot my videos. And just to make it perfectly clear, this video was shot on my MacBook Air with the webcam 720p with the built-in microphone, and it still gets views and people still enjoy it because I think I'm conveying something that resonates with people. But I do want to start at a much more important point. So let's start off by addressing the elephant in the room. You want to make videos, but so does everybody else. So you need to set yourself apart somehow. You need to develop something which is true to you and makes your content stand out. You cannot simply succeed by doing the same bland stuff that everybody else is doing. You can definitely do a tutorial, a synthesizer jam, or a product review, but if you do, you should consider how it's any different from all the other tutorials, synth jams, and reviews that are already out there. I mean, what sets your hands-on synth apart from other hands-on synths? Now, I am sure that it can be, but you have to put in the time and energy to develop your style, not just musically, but also the quality of your videos. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you develop over time. But somebody might argue that I just want people to hear my music. Well, if that's the case, then you either have to ask yourself if a video is the best format for people actually hearing your music, or how to do the best possible videos to complement your music. See Annie for an example. I have an interview with him up on the channel. He makes lovely music and lovely videos to match. But ultimately, don't expect people to appreciate your videos for what it is not. If it's just decent music and not a decent video, the reception might be lukewarm. And the funny thing is that the opposite can be true as well. A decent video with bad music might still work. I know, I've done plenty of videos where the actual music content is so-so and uninteresting, but the thoughts and feelings expressed resonates with people. Or it could just be the hair. This ties into the myth about quality. You see, your content doesn't need to have high quality, but it needs a quality to it. Contradictory? Not really. You see, we often confuse having high production quality with having some kind of artistic quality, and these are not necessarily the same. But how do you develop an artistic quality to your videos? Well, first off, it's important to decide what kind of videos you want to make. To explain this, I will use 3 dimensions: education, personality, and inspiration. These dimensions represent qualities in the video. Is the video aimed at being educational? Is it meant to inspire others into some kind of action maybe? Or it's leaning heavily on people being interested in you as a person or your personal style? Take Casey Neistat, for example. The focal point of his videos is clearly Neistat himself. It's a vlog after all. And there are other characters and plots that intermingle in the videos, but it's Casey's main arc that's the thing. And ultimately the viewers come for Casey. In some episodes he focuses more on educating us, and in some he tries to inspire us, but it's all done through Casey. Other channels are more educational in nature, and some are even more focused on inspiring or motivating us into some kind of action. In the synth scene we can take 3 channels as examples. So for example, my own channel is heavily based on my personality. And the educational and inspirational aspects are tied to me as a person. And if you don't like me as a person, you probably won't watch my videos. Loopop is quite the opposite. His videos are more educational in nature, where the technical aspects of something is in focus, and Loopop as a person is not the focal point. Now Redmean's recording in his OP1 videos, for example, are more inspirational in nature due to them showing us how he makes a song from start to finish, but in a condensed way, which sparks our own creative drive. I think this is why his OP1 videos works so well. They are condensed. You don't necessarily need to care that much about him as a person. So in short, why should people follow what you're doing? What are you bringing to the table in terms of education, inspiration, and personality? If you do not have a good answer, this is where you should start. So let's be real for a moment. When you clicked the video, you didn't want any long monologue about finding your own artistic ways. You wanted to know what gear I'm using. It's totally fine, don't be ashamed. We all love the gear. So let's talk about what video equipment I'm using to shoot my videos. It's not really that much or anything special, but should give you an idea of what you can use to get started. Let's start off by talking about cameras. Now, of course, I can only give advice on stuff that I've actually used myself, but it should give you an idea of where to start looking. Let's start by talking about another elephant in the room, the smartphone. If you watch any sort of tutorial on how to start shooting videos, people say like, yeah, start by using your smartphone. However, I don't really use it a lot for shooting synth videos. There's a couple of reasons. One reason is that it's actually pretty bad in low light, so it requires a lot of lighting. Another reason is that it's actually pretty fiddly to use properly. And another reason is that I just find it very annoying to get the actual video file from the camera to the computer compared to shooting with something that has a SD card. Let's talk about dedicated cameras. This is a GoPro. It's probably my worst purchase ever. This is an action camera. Sure, it has great wide angle, but it's just not very practical. It's also super annoying to get the data from it to the computer, because you either have to use the slow USB, or you have to actually remove the camera from the casing, open it up, and get the card. Now, there we go. Get the little card. So I find this very frustrating to use. Now, your mileage might vary. This might be a great option if you really want something super wide angle. You maybe want something that you can take with you on the road very easily. Yeah, it's just not my go-to choice. I know other people are using it with great success. How did I can't even put this on correctly. However, considering the price of the GoPro, which is, comparable to an entry-level DSLR camera or mirrorless, what you're getting in terms of image quality, low light performance, and just ease of use for studio usage, yeah, it's not really worth it in my book, but might be something for you. You have to decide for yourself. So we talked about stuff I don't really recommend. Let's talk about my favorite camera. This is the Canon EOS M50. It's a mirrorless camera and it's very small. Let's just compare. Now remember that the DSLR here has a 50mm prime lens, and this is actually a zoom lens. So put a zoom lens on this one and it would be even bigger. Now I love this camera for a couple of reasons. The main one being that it's small, lightweight, very affordable. It's an entry-level camera, and the body alone is about $500. If you buy it with a kit lens, I'd say it's about $650, $700 maybe. Now the camera itself shoots excellent 1080p. That's what you're seeing now. I'm actually shooting on another M50 that I got, and it also has 4K. Now the 4K is a bit cropped, which means that the image is a bit zoomed in, but that's still something you can work with when shooting videos about synths. So I think for the price, this is an excellent entry-level camera. Now, one drawback with this is that the battery is actually very small, not just in size but in capacity, so you'll probably need to buy spares. Another drawback is actually the location of this hatch for the battery, but also the SD card. On a little bit more prosumer grade stuff, you actually have the SD card here on the side. Well, there's no card here, but yeah, the benefit being that it's easier to remove the card even when the camera is mounted on a tripod or something. So while you're shooting, if the camera fills up, it's very easy. With this camera, I actually have to remove it from the tripod, which is sometimes very annoying. But I still recommend this. It's an excellent entry-level camera. Oh, and one thing about the size and the weight. The fact that it's lightweight makes it excellent for the 90-degree angle shots, because sometimes, you know, the tripods can't hold that much weight. So you don't, with the lightweight tripods I use, this is an excellent choice as well. So usually when I shoot a video about a synth, I use my 90-degree angle stand.
The stand I'm using is from Glide Gear. It's a little bit flimsy and it's not that big. It's not that wide, so you can't fit a big setup under it. The lamps I'm using are actual lamps and not LEDs. You should really get LEDs because the lamps get super hot. These are cheapo lamps. A pair cost me about $100.
So we talked cameras, but you also need to record audio. I use the Zoom H6. This is an excellent recorder, battery powered. You have 6 channels. I mainly use 2 channels here for, yeah, maybe a synth and 1 channel for an external microphone. So I often use the SM58 when I'm doing the overhead shots like I'm doing now and not relying on the Rode mic. But it depends a little bit on what I want to do. I record onto an SD card like this. Very handy. I've actually ripped off the little hatch here because I got so annoyed closing it. It was probably a bad idea. I do prefer to record onto a recorder because it increases my productivity. It's a quicker workflow basically. I just record, take my card, put it in the computer, just move the files over. I have everything where I want it. If I'm instead recording into a DAW, then I actually have to fire up the computer, the DAW, I have to make sure everything's set up, blah, blah, blah. This is always set up for me. I just pull it out, plug the cables in, and I'm good to go.
And when it comes to shooting my luscious locks, nothing but the best is good enough. Or let's be real here, this is a Godox, softbox and LED lamp, which is very nicely priced, so go and check out Godox if you want something affordable.
This is the tried and trusted SM58 from Shure. I use it for a lot of my voiceover work. I do have condenser mics, better condenser mics, but since my children is often around, I do want something that doesn't pick up a lot of background noise. If you're unfamiliar with microphones, this is a dynamic mic. This means that you don't need any external power to power it. You can just plug it into your recorder or into your computer. It should work fine. Also means that it won't take up too much of the background stuff, what's going on. It's basically taking up mostly what's going on right around the mic. And the opposite of something like this would be something like my Rode NT2A. Now this is a condenser mic, you need phantom power to power it, and if your kids are screaming in the background, this will pick up all manner of sounds and noises. But it also has more clarity to the sound. It's just a better mic, but not for all situations. So that's why I'm using the trusted SM58, because yeah, it works for my voice and it doesn't pick up too much of the noise around me. There are also a number of different stands. So this is a very classic Joby Gorilla Pod. Now, this particular stand is not really that useful for making synth videos. It's great for vlogging, you can put a camera on it and hold it up, but for studio use, you're shooting your synth, I would go with something different. So the stands I use most of the time are these ones here. These are the Manfrotto B3. They're quite expensive, I think around 200 euros just for a stand. However, they're very lightweight. You can fold them together. They fit basically in a carry-on luggage for airplanes, which is cool. They're super well built, quick to set up. These work best for like mirrorless and DSLR cameras, and you don't want to put anything too big on it. It's not meant to hold that kind of weight. Now, I did show you the 90-degree angle rig. It's not really the best option for everybody. Let me show you something that is a much better option, I think, for most of you guys. This here is just a boom. You simply put it on your tripod, and then you can shoot 90-degree angle video. So this particular boom is also extendable, and you can put a counterweight in the other end. This is from my training equipment, which I don't really use. Now, when it comes to actually shooting your videos, there's some things to take into consideration. But first, some coffee. The first thing is actually how you frame your shot. Basically, where do you place the items in the shot? Secondly, the lighting. Using actual light from a window is often really good. And don't shoot with the window behind you like I did in my first review. So framing and lighting is much more essential than what camera you're using. So in this shot I'm using my M50 autofocus. I got the Rode video mic on a boom right over here. I've tried to frame the shot nicely, and I'm relying on sunlight coming in from a window over here. Putting your synths on a table with the light coming in from behind the camera might actually be a very simple solution to the lighting problem, but I would advise on learning how to frame your subject properly, light it properly before you spend thousands of dollars on a new camera, because a camera can't fix it all. Even a really expensive camera might look shit if the framing is off and the lighting is bad.
Now for the next part, I'm going to use a video from a viewer. His name is John, he's been watching the channel for a long time, and he's just started out with YouTube and he wanted some feedback. So I asked if I could use this video in this video, and he said yes. First off, let's talk presentation. The video we're checking out is called Exploring the Minibrute, and it doesn't really say that much. And the thumbnail is kind of hard to understand. I think just a picture with the Minibrute, like a nice high definition picture, maybe some text, and maybe a little bit more of an explanatory title. You don't have to go full Bobeats clickbait. You could just go with something like creating sounds on the Minibrute, or something like getting the most out of your Minibrute using Ableton, because that's pretty much what you're doing in the video, John. You know you want it.
Hello guys, my name is Joan, and today we're going to check out the best, well, in my opinion, the best compressors that you can get.
In one of your previous videos where you list top compressors that are free, you actually have a really good balance between you talking and showing stuff. And I feel like in this Minibrute video, it's a pretty lengthy, a little bit unstructured intro that you could cut down. My advice is to use bullet points. Just write it down somewhere and record each bullet point by itself, maybe a couple of different times, then you just cut it all together and see what feels cool, feels nice. Once we actually get to see the Minibrute in action and how you apply effects inside of Ableton, I think the video works fine. It's just that your presentation doesn't really fit what you're actually doing in the video. And I think looking at all your videos, we can learn something important. Videos with a clear educational intent is often very helpful for a small channel. The top 5 free compressor VST plugins video, as well as the one where you sync the Digitakt to Ableton, is helpful to people, and therefore they have a little bit more views than on average. And lastly, I want to encourage you, John. You have the tech you need. The video looks fine. It's just the presentation, thumbnail, the lengthy intro, the title that you need to work on. And this of course all has to do with the intent. What is the story you want to tell? What do you want to teach us? What do you want to show? And then sculpt your video around that idea. So I want everybody who watches this to go down, subscribe to John, give him a like, a friendly comment, because you all know how much it means when you're starting out and doing something new. So John, thank you for letting me teach you something. Do you want to be cool? Then you probably shouldn't buy my merch.
Another question that I often get is, can you actually make money from making music production and synth videos, tutorials, demos, and that sort of stuff? And the answer is clearly yes, but it's actually really hard work, just as with any creative endeavor. Sometimes, and you should be mindful of this, sometimes people make it seem like being a YouTuber or influencer is like easy work. and easy money couldn't be further from the truth. I've spent about a full-time effort over the last 3 years, and I've had other jobs as well, part-time or full-time. So I've been working 150, 200% or even more every single week. So it's a lot of effort to go anywhere, especially in this small niche. So don't think that it will come easy or cheap, you know, it's a lot of hard work. So let's talk about some of the normal ways you can earn money by doing music production and synth videos. The best sellout coffee in town. So the first way is of course to monetize your YouTube channel, enabling advertisements on them. Now I hope nobody thinks that this makes you a lot of money. I've been doing this for a long time now actually, and with about 300,000, 400,000 views every month, it doesn't earn you that much money. So it's a nice little extra income, but it's nothing to rely on unless your channel is blowing up with millions of views every month. A second way to earn some money is actually to make patches or samples based on the stuff that you review or you test. So I, for example, made a patch collection for the Minilogue, which was really well received, and people buying it actually helped my channel a great deal, making it a little bit more financially stable. And a third way is of course the most ethical and the best way, the most artistic way to actually just sell your music and rely on people buying it. People actually paying for your music. Now, joking aside, I do know that some people are making money selling their music, but starting a YouTube channel and trying to make a living by selling your music, yeah, that's a tough one. Then of course we have affiliate marketing. A lot of companies offer you a percentage whenever somebody buys something from them using your link in the description. I have a bunch of affiliate links down in the description because when people ask where to get the product I'm showcasing, it's kind of nice to get a little bit of a kickback whenever somebody buys something. Now, we aren't talking big money here either. It's very important to be realistic here. Now, another way to make some money is to use YouTube as a way to funnel people to your other services. It could be that you provide great courses, introductory courses to Cubase maybe, or some other software, and you have that on your own site or using some kind of service, for example. To use YouTube as a way to promote your skills and get people to maybe sign up for some other service that you run, which provides some good quality to your customers. Another way to make money on YouTube is to have sponsors. Now, contrary to what some people believe, synth manufacturers doesn't really sponsor that much content. Most of what we make as synth YouTubers is just made for you guys, without any real financial incentive. In 2018, I made over 100 videos. I know it's a weird flex, but bear with me here. 100 videos, and I think I had 15 that were sponsored, and of course I'd liked even more to be sponsored, but the thing is, most had passive sponsors, which means that the video wasn't really about the sponsor. It was about something else, and the sponsor just wanted an ad in the video. Having paying sponsors is pretty much needed if you want to make a living off of YouTube, because the ads aren't paying that much and it can be quite hard to rely on the goodwill of others through Patreon. And this all brings me to today's sponsor. SKILLSHARE is an online learning community with thousands of different classes. For example, you can learn how to brew coffee, just like I do. And you can also learn about music production, mixing, mastering, yeah, all the good stuff. If you sign up for their premium membership, you get unlimited access to all the courses, and it's only $10 a month, so it's actually quite affordable. The first 500 who uses my link in the description gets 2 months for free, which can be really cool considering today's topic, because there's plenty of video tutorials, courses on camera basics, cinematography, video production, so you should go and check it out. Let's talk about Patreon. Do not start a Patreon day 1. Do not start a Patreon day 3 either, or day 20. Wait until you have an actual following. What does this mean? Well, viewers who like what you do and come back for more. The same goes for merch. If there is no push for your merch, why make it? Wait until people actually seem interested in what you're doing, or there's some way to integrate it. Like this meme here, the Bobeats meme, it's something that I've integrated into kind of like a storyline, a meme on the channel. So this is what the setup looks like for this shot. just a talking head video. Got a big light, got a few secondary lights, a main camera, a microphone. You can use pretty much whatever microphone. You could sync it up in post as well. So it's pretty simple actually. And this is recorded on the Canon M50 kit lens, the direct audio from it. So you'll hear what it sounds like. Now, another important thing to consider when you start your YouTube channel is actually the negative comments, the hate. These comments range from legit criticism to hurtful or bad faith criticism to actual hate. Now, I would say that for the most part, people are very mature, very friendly, helpful, sure, a little bit nitpicky. You will get critique if you mess something up, if you say something wrong, but that's cool, like that's okay. But there's also the side where there's people who are out for blood. But I do want to focus on the fact that for the most part, the commenters here in the synth community are awesome. However, we as creatives also have a responsibility. If we put out drama content, attention-seeking content, we have to accept some level of backlash. When I did my video, The Truth about the Tom and Synth Reactor event with the super clickbaity thumbnail, which was justified though, because it's a bait and switch. I sort of pull people in, I make it seem like the event wasn't as good as it seemed, and then I switch and I show like how it's actually a good event. So there was like a aesthetic idea with that, like a intentional idea, but I have to be aware that some people will just feel fooled and get annoyed by that. And even more so if I make content, let's say, oh, I hate this product, or I hate this function on this product. And especially if I'm not making a good argument, like if it's a nonsensical argument, I have to be aware that people will call you out for it, will even get angry with you. Now, while I never condone any sort of hate or trolling behavior whatsoever, I think we should have a zero tolerance for that shit. I do think that you have to be aware what you put out there, and you have to be a little bit mindful. So if you want to talk about a specific topic and you know that it's a little controversial, put in the hours, make a good video about it. Just don't put some random thoughts out there and expect people to understand where you're coming from and not be upset, because they'll probably be. So just keep that in mind.
Now, if you made it this far, thank you so much. This video took a lot of effort to make, and it's also a topic I haven't touched that much on. It's just the fact that this takes a ton of time. Some people look at it and say, you'll do that in a couple of hours, and that's not the case. You need to research your stuff, you need to learn the gear, you need to plan the shoots, write the script. Sometimes you need to script stuff heavily, and other times it's just a matter of turning on the camera and capturing what's in the moment. But regardless, it is a lot of work, and I have written a post over on Patreon that's free to everybody to read about what kind of time it takes, what goes into this process. You can read a bit more about it over there. So thank you so much for watching. If you do want to support, Patreon is one of the best ways. Other ways to support is buying merch, buying my sample packs or my patch collection. I got one for the mini log out at the moment, and more is coming. So thank you for being here. I hope you have a super pleasant day, and I'll talk to you later.